Good day, everyone. I am Christine, the moderator for this webinar. I welcome everyone to today's webinar, OHHS Mandatory Email and Text Message Encryption Rules with only one exception for informed patients. I would like to introduce our presenter for today, Dr. Michael C. Redmond. Dr. Redmond is an international consultant, speaker, author, and trainer. Michael's been honored as a top woman in her field at a White House luncheon. I would now like to hand over the floor to the speaker. Over to you, Dr. Redmond.
Thank you very much. I've worked for many healthcare organizations, we've said, and I'm a HIPAA compliance expert, 4 years on active duty and 18 and a half as National Guard Reserve. This is going to cover the growing concern about protection of sensitive patient information. Why is this important? So OHS is Office of Health and Human Services. They have regulations as a critical framework for safeguarding electronic communication. I'll be talking about some of the differences in standards for email and text messaging for HIPAA, Health Insurance Portability, Probability, and Accountability Act. And I'll highlight the single exception to encryption rules for informed patients and its rationale. And I'll provide context for the encryption of single cyber threats, data breaches. I'll give you information on exactly some of the information we can do for those things and legal liabilities associated with it. We'll also be covering to ensure compliance with encryption rules and avoid costly penalties, and we'll talk about some case studies. We'll understand not only the exceptions, but how it applies within your organization. You want to identify the gaps. A gap assessment is extremely important. We'll talk about how to do that, stay ahead of regulatory updates and emergence challenges. We will be covering an overview of the regulations and encryption mandates, the key threats to patient data during electronic communication, the criteria for meeting the exceptions, best practices, case studies, identifying risk and current communication practices, selecting encryption tools, policies update encryption standards, and actionable strategies. So who needs to know this information? Your CISO, your Chief Information Security Officer, should understand this. The protection of sensitive information has become a growing concern. Now what's different is that healthcare providers are responsible for safeguarding information due to privacy and confidentiality. So now we're going to talk about the mandatory encryption standards for email, which is why you're here. So the mandatory encryption ensures that patient information that's transported electronically is protected from unauthorized access. So why do we do it? It ensures patient information is transmitted electronically, which is what they are extremely interested in with this new rule. And with the encryption rules. But a secure email communication is a legal requirement. So you can't send it without making sure that it's secured. So non-compliance with HIPAA can result in fines ranging from $100 to $50,000 per violation. OHS provides a critical framework for safeguarding electronic communications in healthcare. The provision of healthcare or how they are payment for healthcare services. That's including now you've got all of your credit card information. Okay, a court ruling in 2021 addressed health text messaging in healthcare. So the impact of the 2021 HITECH Act, which is the HITECH Act, encourages compliance with security frameworks, but it does grant discretion to refrain from penalties for compliant organizations. So the impact of the security framework, they address text messaging. Then the decisions clarified boundaries of the TCPA impact of April 1st, 2021 Supreme Court decision. This is the Telephone Consumer Protection Act, which governs healthcare text messaging. So the Supreme Court ruling clarified the boundaries, but they upheld that HIPAA safeguards must be in place. OHS regulations provide critical framework. But remember, they set the standards, and they ensure communication between healthcare providers, patients, and all of the other entities, including third parties. The Telephone Consumer Protection Act, again, also applies to calls and messages sent to mobile phones, landlines, and certain internet-based communication systems. Health organizations have to encrypt all communication. So when you're informing patients about the healthcare risk, you want to make sure they understand all of the potential vulnerabilities. So you want to extend explicit consent. The provider has explicit consent when sending unencrypted messages. So document patient consent, but it also maintains patient trust and prevents data breaches. So there's a three-step safeguard. You want to inform patients about the risk of unencrypted communication, obtain explicit consent from the patient, and document patient consent. PHI includes healthcare conditions, treatments, prescriptions. The only single exception is when patients explicitly consent to receive unencrypted communications. The patient understands the risk associated with unencrypted communications, still chooses to receive communication. The covered entities are healthcare providers, health plans. Why this matters? It simplifies communication with laws for secure communications. Now let's talk about technical requirements for encryption. So effective key management practices are essential for maintaining secure encryption. So the protocol, you want implementation steps. Healthcare organizations have to comply. Compliance involves adhering to the encryption protocols. Some of the requirements of HIPAA, they know how to do encryption. Key management practices are essential, generating, storing, and rotating keys securely. Implementation steps. So compliance involves adhering to specific encryption. So patient confidentiality. The scope of protected information encompasses demographic details. So it's the impact of the digital age, rise of electronic health records. So legal frameworks. You have the federal protection, our HIPAA and high-tech laws. So challenges for special populations. So continuous education to mitigate risk, frameworks for ethical. This is one in 2013 and 2015. URMC 2019, they failed to encrypt emails and text messages containing PHI. They faced $3 million for failing to comply. Central hospitals failed to encrypt email messages. March 2020, Premier Blue Cross data breach where unencrypted emails containing PHI were sent. Athens Orthopedic, they were fined $1.5 million. You need a comprehensive audit. Start by performing a thorough audit of your electronic messaging protocols. Evaluate the encryption methods currently in place. Ensure they meet the required standards. You want to analyze incident reports. You want to gather feedback from employees on the challenges they face with the current communication protocols. You want to implement stronger encryption, continuous monitoring. You want regular monitoring reviews. You need a dedicated compliance team, collaboration with legal experts. So you want to do a risk assessment, update your policies, training, and education. Adapt your advanced encryption. Stay ahead of new adopting procedures that are out there. AHIMA, HIMSS, HCCA. They have emerging trends in healthcare and communications and in transit transmitted electronically. It applies to ePIP, PHI, desktops, UBSs. You want to protect it. The complier attachments also have to be secured. So make sure your business associate agreement with email service providers. Make sure that is signed. Reduce likelihood of notifiable. Make sure you have recognized framework. You make sure that the HIPAA rules are not addressable specifically. You want to have robust encryption protocols. Train the staff. Regularly identify. I appreciate your staying the extra few minutes. I appreciate your being here and hope you found this extremely helpful. So thank you all very much for your time today. I appreciate it and I wish you all a great day.
Thank you, Dr. Redmond. That concludes the session for today. Thank you everyone for participating. You may all disconnect now and have a wonderful day.
Thank
You
you. Bye-bye.
too. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye. Thank you.